I would say probably the biggest thing between like Valorant, CSGO, and then other FPSs is just kind of you have to like stop when you shoot. Usually most of those other games are much more like you right click, you point, and you just kind of like track people. So this is a lot more like kind of like very fast, very precise, essentially like aim. And that's kind of like the main differentiating thing between those two.
I think it's really important to have like an aim routine. Before I scrim or whatever, get on, I first go to Aimlabs, do some like spider shot, mess around in there, have my aim routine in there. And then I go into Valorant and I do some DMs and practice my flicking and my crosshair placement. I think it's really important to have some kind of consistent routine before you get on.
I think using like, for example, Aimlabs is pretty good. I found like using I'm a big fan of spider shot, so like it definitely like warms me up in like all the different directions. And I also use the practice range because I also think like seeing like visual models, like just seeing like the actual models is like important, and then like seeing like the guns like in game and that sort of thing, like and how that correlates, that helps out a lot too.
Currently I'm trying to, no matter what, like play like 2 or 3 like DMs in Valorant. Even if I feel crispy, just keep going, practice each gun. Like I don't just DM to become first place. Like I think a lot of people are getting the wrong idea of like how to DM in Valorant. It does like create a lot of bad habits. So I practice my Ghost, my Sheriff, my Vandal, my Phantom, and I'm not looking to get like first place or anything. And then I go to the range and just kind of flick around, make sure like I'm not like over flicking, under flicking, like these bots that pop up, after I feel good, and then go into the game.
Some of the tasks I use on Aimlab, I use the spider shot actually quite a bit. I think that promotes like good like horizontal, vertical, and like just kind of like all directional aim. And plus, since they use AI, any spots that you're weak at, the AI will tend to place like orbs or the balls in those spots that you're weak at and help you improve on like those areas.
And a big one is never changing your settings, which, like I kind of struggle with changing my like crosshair and stuff, but changing your settings, the second you get in your head about changing your settings, like you're just focused on the wrong things. Like you could be having a bad day because of what you're eating that day, like the factors outside of your life. Like there's so many factors, and usually settings is like the last thing that's going to affect your aim. So try not to get in your head is like one of the biggest things in a game like Valorant and Counter-Strike. Because like I was in the spider shot and like it was hard for me to like flick up and maybe like down to the left. So getting comfortable in your position, like how you're sitting, is like really important too. I totally adjusted like my whole setup, and after like doing spider shot for a while, I finally like felt comfortable like flicking up, down, left, right, whatever. I don't know. Again, like these little things like you don't really think about, but really helpful for that.
Getting off. Flash.
One more here, Cypher.
All done.
Cypher's usually sight. Cypher's usually sight.
In the bot?
Okay.
Precision is the most important thing about aiming in Valorant. Being very precise with your aim, because that's what it rewards. Because when you go for like headshots, for example, that's how you instantly, kill someone, essentially.
If you get good at flicking all these tiny pixel dots, you're gonna be god, I think. Yeah, I would personally struggle a lot with trying to flick to all these tiny dots. It's just precision. At the end of the day, if you can precisely like aim at all these like small dots, you're gonna get a game and you're just gonna feel like a god. And then this is actually really nice because you can't replicate any of these things in Valorant. Like you can't go into a server and like there's not bots in the air and stuff, so you can't practice any of this. The only way to get good at like flicking at like different levels on the map is like going through like Aimlabs, really.
Instead of trying to go like as fast as like humanly possible, this kind of like forces you to slow down quite a bit, and it forces you to be like very precise. And if you're able to get faster and faster at getting like these precision shots, that's definitely going to help you in like actual games.
Good shot.
He's trying. He's stairs. Nice.
Two cat.
Nice.
Oh, what? 73. Easy up again. Nice.
When I stream and anyone asks me just how to like improve their aim in general, like I tell them like, well, the number one thing I always tell them, crosshair placement is like one of the biggest things. Is like the crosshair placement is like your biggest friend in any like FPS game. It'll make making the least amount of adjustments with your crosshair will just make you a more confident player, a better player, and a more consistent player. A lot of these players that you see like flicking around everywhere, like it looks fancy and everything, but me personally, it doesn't impress me when I see like a clip of some guy flicking left and right. And it's more impressive to see someone just like good crosshair placement. They're just tapping the guys with minimal aim. So every time you peek an angle, you want to be at head level. You want to be consistent with your aim.
Some of the most common things in regards to aim are probably people who have very poor, like for example, crosshair placement. Crosshair placement is a big thing that I would also say is not in like other FPS like shooters. Most newer players, they tend to look like more towards the ground, not ready for like someone to be kind of like around the corner and like their crosshair ready to be like on their head. Usually like what usually happens is they're looking at the ground. When they see someone, they have to flick upwards, you know, and that's not very like efficient. Crosshair placement is essentially putting your crosshair at trying to keep it or maintain it at head level, no matter the situation. So whatever corner, elevation, or possible like elevation the enemy could be, is like having your crosshair at that head level when you come around like any angle. So ultimately your crosshair is always going to be at like head level if you see like an enemy around that corner essentially.
Yikes.
Winnable.
Nope, give me some time.
Let's go.
A lot of your battles when coming around corners or just coming around like walls or just angles in general is going to be like you swing a corner and you see somebody. So being able to precisely, you know, flick to someone's like head or, you know, that portion of the body and being precise with that would be very important.
In this video, he's peeking a little too wide because every time you peek an angle, you want to be able to only have one person in your POV. Like if you peek too wide and there's two guys, like best case scenario when you peek too wide is that you kill one guy. Like you're not going to kill a second. So being really precise with your movement, actually, yeah, this really helps with your movement too. Precise with the crosshair placement and your movement. You peek an angle, you peek only one guy, you shoot him, and then you peek a little wider to get the second. So I mean, it's like those little details that like will really help your game.
Enemy remaining. Spike spotted.
Being able to track is like super useful for any, like, I mean, if Sova darts your team or like an enemy through the wall and you got to track them, like this is a good practice tool for doing stuff like that. And just aiming in general, like you need to be able, if you miss your first like 2 bullets in Valorant, you got to obviously either stop shooting and adjust or track the enemy. So yeah, I mean, really good tool to help with that. All these things in Aimlabs, if you master everything in Aimlabs, you'll by far become a better player. So.
Spear track, I would say definitely helps you out in situations in which there's someone who is like, for example, swinging out on you, or someone, or like a jet or a raise that is like dashing or just flying through the air. And this could definitely help you like track them like midair and, you know, possibly like take them down, because there's a lot of scenarios in which people are just flying around or like jumping off things. So it'd be probably be pretty helpful to, you know, try to have, you know, some tracking in there as well, because I see a lot of people miss those kind of shots.